Hey everyone, welcome. Um, it's a tiara kind of night apparently, so I don't know. I to tiara or not tiara, it feels oddly satisfying to be wearing tiara with pajamas. So I don't know. I'm just gonna go with it. But yeah, sorry if I was a few minutes late. I finally remembered to go upstairs and then unearth wherever I put my. Because I know I've mentioned it in a couple other streams. My pen light, and I have two different types of jeweler's loops for looking at crystals and stuff, and then going to find crystals to look at and stuff, and then using the vestiges of my art school degree to jerry rig my. This is the jeweler's loop I had from. This is probably a 30-year-old jeweler's loop. This is actually from when I had film photography classes, and we'd use them to look at the contact sheets to decide what we were going to print up. Because back in my day, when you did photography, you can just flip through your phone or on the back of a digital camera and see what you came up with after you developed it, hoping you developed it correctly. Whether it was overexposed or underexposed, then you kind of do a contact sheet, look at what you got, and then decide to print from there. So that's why I have a jeweler's loop because I'm not actually a jeweler. So, anyways, hope everyone's doing well. That was a whole lot of words really fast. So I need a drink. But I hope everyone's had a good week. It's actually weird. This tiara. Actually, this is my 40th birthday tiara because I don't know. I turned 40. I'm like, well, why not wear? It was like because I had to work that day, and I'm like, well, gotta wear a tiara to work. See if anyone notices. It was surprising how many people didn't notice, but anyways, which is weird because I also worked at an art school at the time. But anywho, it's as I was doing my hair for this, I was like, it needs something. I'm like, well, of course, why not a tiara? So here we are. I didn't really prepare anything to talk about because I'm going to actually give a huge disclaimer right here. I have not taken my Adderall today, so I apologize for being extra ADHD and I was trying to prepare something to talk about, and then I got distracted by shiny things. Shocking, I know. So yeah, we'll get into that a little. I'm going to give some people time to get here since it's early yet. Finally feel mildly awake. I've been having one of those. I was really tired all day today. I was like, oh my god. Although maybe the cup of coffee I had a couple hours ago is finally kicking in. I used to have a smaller tiara from like the golf club days. I don't know what the hell happened to that over the years. I'm not, for whatever reason, although it does depend on the length of my hair, like most hats look stupid on me unless it was a beret. Yes, I was a beret wearing goth in the 90s. So, um, yeah. And even I put a hat on, I'm like, I look weird. So, but I have lots of like head adornments. I have lots of like ornate feather things and tiaras and floral crowns, and I apparently have like it's like a black veil that I got from Killstar, which goes really well with my black rose demon horn. Yeah, it's funny with glamour magic. It's one of those things I don't do a whole lot of, to be honest. Like I know, I'm familiar with it, but I don't know why. It's one of those things on the big list of things to do. Of oh yeah, I should do that, and then I forget, um, or I get distracted by something else. Like I think I was thinking about glamour magic and looking into weight loss spells, and then I got distracted by chaos magic and the primordials of Greek mythology. That's just kind of where I went in the past week. I don't know why. There's a lot of topics in the occult, so yeah, some I'm more familiar with, some just only minutely familiar with, but um, I know there's a book on glamour magic. I'm struggling to remember whether I have it or not. I have to. I started going through and trying to organize my actual books, and it, I organized my tarot and oracle decks. I have not gotten to the books yet because I always do end up in these weird, like, late night. Oh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna go organize something, and then I'm like, okay, I got like a quarter of the way through this. I'm like, well, I'm going to bed now. So that's where we left off, and then I'll pick it up again like 3 months later. Um, well, my cats are all tuckered out. Oh, babies. They're just running around like maniacs, so I guess they need a nap. Anyways, but yeah, so I was um I'm going to lose my train of thought to not alight and make up words because I did not take my Adderall. But in my defense, I decided to sleep till like 2 p.m. because I just felt like I needed some extra sleep for some reason. Um, I was talking about Bonnie last night. Like Mercury retrograde, I think is much harder on Gemini's since we're ruled by Mercury than it is on other people, unless your Mercury is in Gemini. Because like I was like, I feel like I've got it's like Mercury retrograde is just an extended period where I feel like I have PMS or something, and everything like I'm just constantly annoyed and everything's just extra. So um I know some people do for glamour magic. I don't know off the top of my head any like particular spells, but I know some people do mirror magic for that. Um, I'm trying to think of yeah, it's one of those things. Like for me, like I think if I was going to talk about glamour magic, I'd kind of have to like since it's not something I do a whole lot of, I'd have to like look into it more before I did a live stream or do a particular video on it. I think I just do kind of my own thing that maybe I don't know if it is technically in the glamour magic realm. I'm trying to think of the way, like, I mean, like looking at, because there are magical and ritual uses of makeup and color and things like that. So that's something that, like, you can do unintentional kind of magic in that sense, where, you're evoking a certain kind of feeling based on your color scheme. You could also ritually consecrate your makeup. So despite the fact, you went to Sephora and got some makeup or the drugstore and got some makeup, you could ritually consecrate your makeup with the intention of it relating to any whatever you're trying to do as far as glamour magic. Make yourself more attractive or catch someone's eye, or things like that. I do. No, that's no. I have the magical and ritual use of perfumes, which is a book, but um I know that there are throughout the course of history magical uses of makeup. But I mean, if you're going into like the Watchers lore, Azazel I would probably work with Azazel maybe on makeup because he was the one who brought that. If you're going in through the Fallen Angel Watchers lore, he was the one that he brought us the fancy makeup. Yay, Azazel. Sad that he's only known for the whole scapegoat thing, but brought us war and makeup. Thanks, Azazel. Sorry about the goats, but I mean, you could also work with different goddesses. Like I would think, like Aphrodite or Venus would be good to work with for glamour magic. Yeah, maybe even Astarte. Yeah, it depends on what you want to do. Or what your goals are for that, because a lot of it just kind of comes down to your intention. Like for me, I don't know, I'm a fancy pants, so it's just kind of how I decorate myself in that way. Um, yeah. Sorry again. Again. It's the ADHD. I'm talking in the middle of the sentence. I just don't even remember what I'm talking about. Yeah, I could see Lilith being good for glamour magic as well. Probably, I would use her a little bit more on the sensual or sexual elements of glamour magic, um, as opposed to just sort of general, you know. I mean, glamour magic is a broad topic, but it also brings in a lot of other elements to that, because there is, yeah, you're going to have some overlapping in the Venn diagram of it. You're going to have some overlapping elements from like shadow work, because you might not think you're attractive, and you might have a lot of negative self-talk, and part of the glamour magic might be on yourself to convince yourself that you're beautiful, when because you don't realize it. I never realized it. Fucking hell, I didn't know I was hot until I was like in my early 40s. I'm like, damn. I look back at pictures of me, I'm like, fuck, wish someone told me I was hot back in the 90s. Damn. you know um but or looking at things in a more psychological perspective of body dysmorphia. I think I thought I looked like Jabba the Hutt at 120 pounds. I'm really tall. I'm like 5'9". So, I feel the same when it comes to how I view my body. Regardless of whether I weigh 120 pounds or 220 pounds, I feel the exact same. And I look back at when I was that tiny, and I'm like, how was I ever that tiny? But there's a lot of things that go into glamour magic in that sense. So you might have different layers of it. You might have a trauma healing layer. You might have the shadow work that goes into it. You might have the self-love work that goes into that part of the glamour magic as well. I mean, you can of course bypass those things and go straight to just beautification kind of spells, and rituals. But yeah, confidence is definitely something that is very key in glamour magic, and and in your self view. It's kind of like, um I'm going to make a longer video on this, but it kind of goes into a little bit of that like imposter syndrome thing, and also how you compare and contrast yourself to other people. Like, I'm tall, I'm big, I am Amazonian goddess kind of like figure, and then when I have these teeny tiny little petite party girlfriends over the years that are like a size 2, I feel like, I look at pictures of us and I feel like this gigantic Jabba the Hutt. And it was always this compare and contrast. I'm like, well, I'm not as tiny as them. I'm not as pretty as them. I'm not as, whatever as them. I mean, I have really broad shoulders. I mean, when I stand facing some of my friends, their shoulder width comes to where my straps are on here. And I've still got this much more shoulder on that, which also makes shopping for women's clothing very complicated. But it's taken, some of it is like the mindset you're in on it, of not realizing whether you're beautiful, hi Blade, or not, and or the flying ointments is, oh, sorry to diverge, just answering the question. Does flying ointments expire? I have some from 2020. As long as you keep, I mean, the efficacy might change a little. The tinctures won't. The smoke blends won't. The flying ointments, as long as you have like not stored them in a ridiculous, like, in the trunk of your car. So there's been a lot of heat fluctuations. I would say that they're at least 2 years, but they might. I would test it out and see if it works or not. Yeah, yeah, I definitely have the long legs thing. But then it's also like I want to wear heels. As soon as I put on a pair of heels, I'm well over 6 feet tall. So, and then I feel like again I'm taller than half the men I'm around, except for my two friends of mine who married guys who are 6'8". And I'm like, yay! Now I know what short people feel like. So it's there's always those. The grass is always greener somewhere else. Like big boobs, it's kind of like it gets annoying after a while. All my, smaller endowed friends are just like, oh, where you have big boobs, poor you, if I complain about it. So I'm like, well, I will you some of my boobs, I'm more than happy to it. But so it's kind of like the grass is always greener. I like being tall, but then I have a hard time. Like I can't wear heels like normal people would like everyone else would wear. Like, if I put on 3-inch heels, I'm now over 6 feet tall. So it's just there's always like a push pull there and stuff. Now, I mean, one of the things I like about being tall is people don't really mess with me as much, on that level, and I realized I had a funny trauma response. Is like I never date people like that are all that larger than me. Like really muscular, tall. Like I would never date someone who is like an athlete kind or goes to the gym, that kind of physique, because I'm like, you know what? I want to know if shit hits the fan that I have a fair chance in a fight. Because it's a sense of self-preservation for me, and also probably a trauma response. But I digress. So, use glamour magic for shape shifting, at least in the astral, for accomplishments here in the chair. I mean, I don't have I. I mean, you can for sure. Most of the time when I've done shape shifting in the astral realm, like was one time early on when I was working with Lilith and we kind of shape shifted. We were swimming and we were more like mermaids. Um, or shape shifted into an owl to fly somewhere. Um, but yeah, I mean, I could see using glamour magic and the astral for accomplishing things in the material. Yeah, it's very common. It's you know, but now that I'm kind of thinking about the glamour magic thing, I think it's something that I'm starting to embark upon slowly. Yeah, that's true. It's awesome when tall girls wear heels. Makes it easier to part the crowds. Yeah. And we can fight your boyfriends. you know, Not that I advocate violence as such. But, anyways, yeah. Blade says, I like shape shifting on the astral and then popping into certain people's dreams as people they appear to know. Yeah, I could see that. That would there are some people, especially if they have like a kind of like whatever their primary kind of power animal is. I know I've seen some spell work where you can, pick a particular power animal type thing and show up in people's dreams as that power animal to, yeah, for whatever your intention in that is. So I've only tried that like once. I don't know if it was a while ago. I don't know if it worked or not. Sorry, I'm fiddling with things. Um, but yeah, I mean, dream stuff can be connected. I mean, especially um, maybe it's not so much it has to be someone who has a magical background, but like my mom and I have often had the same dream at the same time or the same types of dreams. Like I remember this was a while years ago. She's like, you used to tell me when you were a little girl, like you would have these dreams about animals biting your hands. And what I never told you was when I was a little girl, I used to have dreams about animals biting my hands. So You know, there's connections that you can have with people. And if it's something that's intentional, if you're working with like a group of people on like astral work and meeting up in the astral realm and stuff like that, it's probably going to be much easier. Astral glamour magic is something I do all the time. It's a lot of fun. You can make yourself, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think sometimes like I forget to look at myself in the astral sometimes. Like I almost approach like when I'm in the astral, it's almost like I'm in a first person shooter game kind of mode. Did I work with, it might have been Asmodeus that I worked with for the shape shifting thing in the dream world. Um yeah, it's yeah, there was one night my mom and I had like the exact same dream on the same night, or even recently. Like it was just like a slightly different scenario. Like we both kind of have we're both sort of afraid of snakes, and we'll also have like dreams about snakes. And there was one time like you know, I was being attacked by a snake in my dream. My mom showed up and like saved me from the snake, and then there was maybe in the past year or so, she was like, "Yeah, you know, I had this dream about there's a snake like in the garage or in the backyard, and all this weird stuff was happening." I'm like, "Oh, well, my snake was in a hotel room. It was the same night." So it was just funny, you know. Yeah, I was watching something earlier this week. Because I know one of the videos I just dropped yesterday was about past lives, and this person posited in it. I hadn't thought about this, but I kind of like. I don't know whether I buy it or not as far as a concept goes, but I actually kind of like it. It was She was saying that incarnation after incarnation, the one constant is our eyes. What we have seen in past lives, we've seen with these eyes. What we see in future lives, we will see with these eyes, and that's how we recognize like our soulmates and things like that because of the eyes. And I've always heard, we are all familiar with the expression "eyes are the window to the soul." So I thought that was just a really interesting concept. Let's see. Yes, I agree. Flying in the astral is fun. A lot of times, well, at some point I realized, like, I think it was one of the times I was working with the Starte, we just kind of like tear open dimensional rifts and kind of like slip through them. Although I did get to ride Abaddon like an Ent once from Lord of the Rings. That was fun. Because Abaddon is really big. Like really, 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 really big. Hi, Soren. Yeah, I am the one true Jennifer, the past life queen. Yes, the past life queen Lilith. And the future Queen Lilith, and all the Liliths that ever Lilith in the history of Lilithing. Yes. But yeah, that was actually I forget who requested after I had dropped the video on the incarnate deities and the chosen ones and stuff like that. I'm like, so let me know how that being a chosen one is working out for you, buddies. Shade throne. If you know, you know. Okay, I admit I could be a total catty bitch sometimes. um, I try to remain professional, but I'm snarky as fuck. Abaddon's demon cats. One time I ran into them. I think it was one of the first times I was sort of working with Lucifer, and it was, I don't know, but there were these absolutely, and it's in one of my videos from like 3 years ago. But there were these absolutely adorable. They were like baby bat, hellhound hybrids, and they were the cutest things in the world. I was like, oh my god, I want them. So yeah, so I'm here to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I did have some fun preparing before this. I don't know if, for those who are just getting here. I know I've talked about in previous weeks because I always end up being like, look at my shiny rocks. Look at my shiny rocks. It's not always easy to get, like, this is a piece of Lodolite. It's not always easy to get the webcam to kind of focus on crystals so much. Because they have so many. This one I bought because this isn't even doing it justice. I mean, it's got so much in it. So I found my jeweler's loupe, and I figured out how to like jerry rig it onto uh my what's it called, webcam. I'm MacGyvering here hardcore today, and because I have a pack of adhesive dots, or as we called them when I worked in retail, boogers. They're those little like boogers. Yeah, Lodolite is this is it's really heavy, but like sometimes there's little pieces of Lodolite, but this one is really really phenomenal. I was like, well, that's coming home with me. Actually, the people at the store where I got it were actually sad. They're like, okay, we'll sell it to you. But yeah, it's a really cool piece. Speaking of shapeshifting, has anyone worked with Morale to bring invisibility under command? I was gonna say I work with Baal for invisibility. In fact, that's who I work with to make my invisibility cloak warding spray. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of overlap with what different spirits can teach you as far as things like that. Sorry, this is all hot shit show here. I'm trying to get to the end of the. Well, we'll just drop it on the floor and hope for the best. But while we are sort of here, so in previous weeks I've talked about. I was like, it's upstairs. Using a jeweler's loupe or a pen light to view crystals further. So I'm gonna show that a little bit. I'm just getting my thing ready. Yeah, Lodolite is good for that, and I feel like it's really good for psychic development too. Question: does anyone have advice on what demon I should work with, or ask, or give offer if I wish to seek justice about a past situation, so I can have to? I think, like personally, for me in that situation, I would work with Belial. Um, okay, I've just in which Jen makes a big mess. We're gonna put that over there for now. I'm a hot mess. What can I say? What can I say? So there's two different kinds of jeweler's loupe you can get. This was the one I got most recently. I think this is a 10 or 20. It's just kind of hard to hold up to my webcam. But like what you do with them, I mean, if you kind of might be holding it the wrong way, but like if you hold it up, you can really view like what is in like all the inclusions that are inside different crystals. But what I did, this one works better. This is one that got like it's got kind of a bigger base to it, and I'm going to show you some cool stuff because I'm really excited that I was able to do this. So I'm going to put this on my webcam, and hopefully it'll stay there. So I'm going to look really weird for a hot minute, but so like this is a piece of moldavite up close. But this is a pen light. Look at how freaking cool that looks. So you can see like the translucency in it. This pen light has a little bit of like a bluish kind of tone to it. And also there you'll have some crystals that are UV reactive. So I'm really happy I figured out how to do this because this is gonna make doing some of my crystal videos really much easier because it's so hard to get the webcam to up close. Now, kind of looking at this crystal, the big one I was just holding up, like you can really see like all the inclusions. So when you get into like things that people are calling like window crystals or timekeepers or record keepers. Sometimes it's based on like things that are included in them, especially like manifestation quartz. So what else do I have here while I am? This is a piece of so you can start to see like just how much. This is a piece of amethyst. Um like just the different inclusions that are in there and all the striations and stuff. Because sometimes you'll see in different crystals, there'll be, oh, this is probably a good example. I forget what this one is, but it's a sphere. So sorry if it's pick up any reflections, but you can kind of, almost looks like a marble. I'm just very excited I was able to figure out a way to do this. Yay, art school! And what else do I have? I grabbed a couple different crystals. This is like a smoky quartz. So like you see the pieces that are in there that are gold. I think those are golden rutils. Whoop, sorry, I have this on, kind of stuck on here. So yeah, so you can see a lot of different things in there that you might not see just by like looking at with the naked eye. So I'm going to take this down. There we go. Not too bad for jerry rigging a crystal and stuff. So or a jeweler's loupe to it. Now it's just all full of like the little booger things, but at least I figured out how to do it. So yeah, I have a lot of really cool stones. Sorry, where did I put that? Oh, that needs to go back in there. I brought this one over. I didn't show it because it's not really, that works better with the translucency, but this is it's a really, see, it's hard with the webcam to get it to really focus in on a crystal that well. But this one I got. This has got blue kyanite in it. This is either black kyanite or some tourmaline, but like, look at that. It's like, I bought it. I'm like, that's got like a spirit in it, like, because that's like totally a face. So, even like turning the back around, you can kind of see all like how much is in each of the stones. So, just gonna move this stuff over here so I don't lose it. So I almost lost my moldavite once tonight. Hold on, I gotta scroll back. Yeah, I get my moldavite from moldavitefamily.com. That's like because there are a lot of fake moldavite places out there to sell you kind of like green glass for a high price. So I get mine from Moldavite Family. They give you like a certificate, whether you're buying a piece of moldavite, whether you're buying a necklace or whatever, they give you a certificate of authenticity. And they were recommended to me by another crystal person who has a business that's what they do. I ask because it's not an easy matter to settle or get evidence for, so I thought to ask. Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes like with prayer, it's yeah, it's like yes, you think about it in terms of how prayer is used in Christianity, um, but there's no problems with praying to Lucifer or anytime you talk to a deity or a spirit or an ancestor or something, it could kind of be considered a prayer in and of itself. But yeah. Anyways, sorry, I'm just putting my stuff back in my box so I don't lose it again. I love these little Heidi boxes. It's just says poison on it. I love these that they sell at like Halloween or at Michael's store. I have tons of them all over the place. I like to hide stuff. Okay, booger, you go there. And then you go over there. Sorry, having my ADHD moments. Belial, I mean, what do you want to know about Belial? Um, I mean, I can, like, from my experiences with Belial, like, I'm not entirely sure from whence or where it originates, but people are like, oh man, Belial is so intense to work with, or so hard, or so scary, or so, um, you know, he'll really put you through the ringer and stuff like that. I really did not find that to ever be my maybe once, but in my defense, in his defense, I was being dumb about something. So, anyways, um, I think that Belial. I'm trying to figure out how to put this. I think Belial sometimes gets a bad rap because of the way certain people work with Belial. Because they get stuck on oh, he's the lawless one, so we're lawless and we can do whatever we want and, fuck the world and all that shit. And, they take things so literally that they miss the big picture of that. So that's part of it with Belial, like where the modern kind of interpretation and reputation, as it were, of working with Belial comes from those people that take the lawless one part super literally, in that we can do whatever we want. Um, you know, now Belial is, again, another one that comes from sort of the fallen angel lore, but there's also other things that could possibly be related to Belial. I've always found in my workings with Belial, he's got wicked sense of humor. He will show up every time something different. Doesn't really have like a particular visage he looks like every single time. So I mean, and one of the things I've found, I like to work with Belial and Azazel at the same time. Um, they've just got like a funny, almost sibling rivalry kind of energy between them. But I've found in working with Belial that I guess where people like he really puts you through the ringer, or he's hard to work with, is that there's a lot of like when people talk about doing shadow work, I usually recommend working with Belial because that's the kind of self work that you're going to do with Belial. Now you can also do other work with Belial. Yes, you can. Like if I need to do any kind of justice kind of work or legal work or things like that, I would probably work with Belial on that. Yeah, like I was told it, like it was, Belial was gonna be so intimidating. I'm like, really? Because he never has been with me. He's a little bit impish sometimes and has a little bit of like a trickster energy vibe to him, but beyond that, like some of my most hilarious experiences have been working with Belial. Yeah, you're saying about I mean, one of the things that probably most people on the left hand path have dealt with or deal with is a lot of us have an extraordinary amount of religious trauma from having been brought up in sort of whatever we were raised in religiously. Some more so than others. Hi, Roman Catholicism representing and raising my middle fingers to that since like 1991. Um, but it's something that you will work through over time. I was angry for like decades at the church. I mean, I still have feelings about it, about certain things that I experienced or was taught growing up. Um, I still kind of like have this odd fantasy of like, sending in like my alumni news to the to my Catholic high school and just, or going up there and like, hail Satan, motherfuckers. Um, anyways, they already thought I was a satanic druggie slut, so mission accomplished. Woo! But yeah, a lot of us have religious trauma that we come through, and that's something that you will work through over time. Um, so, but that could be part of your shadow work, is working through that and letting go, because it really doesn't serve you to hold on to the anger that's associated with that. And I mean, I still get my, I got one earlier today. I think I deleted it. It was on a blog post, but um, to my cavalcade of Christian haters who are so great at copy pasting the Bible quotes at me, it's like, I'm sorry, guys, your religion has absolutely no point without us. Because if you didn't have the fear of hell and Satan and all of an evil, what would the point of almost any religion be? Because it's all kind of side loaded on it's all kind of heavy loaded on the one side, so it's always going to be out of balance unless your religion re- embraces balance and understands that the darkness can't exist without the light and the light can't exist without the darkness. It's kind of a moot point. And a lot of them are very unenlightened. I mean, you can have advanced divinity degrees and be the most unenlightened person in the fucking world. um but I digress. um yeah, I'm not sure, I missed what you said, Soaring. Yeah, I missed whatever you said. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes, people, there's different terminology people use for things interchangeably. And sometimes people can get, a little persnickety or a little attached or detached from certain things. Like, whenever I mention something to them, I'll be like every god, goddess, deity, sub-deity, minor deity, demon, daemon, angel, archangel, seraphim. Do I want to give you a whole list of every classification of spiritual entity, or do I just want to say entities or spirits instead? Some people will be like, well, so and so is not a spirit, so and so is a god, and whatnot. So, some people will get offended by certain things. And or they're just attached to certain terms and languages used um for different concepts. Like, I have no problem, like, prayer can be used in a lot of different concepts. It's not solely a you know Christian or Judeo-Christian or Muslim or any particular concept. Like, I've seen prayers to Lucifer, and that's fine. It's kind of like, um yeah, I'm sorry, Soren, if I missed what the initial thing was with the particular expression. But sometimes people interpret words in different ways. Um, or a seemingly innocuous word can I'm trying to think of a good example of this. So one of my an ex of mine particularly did not like the word love. And whenever I said I love you, he looked like I was about to slit his throat. Because and then somehow to him love was tied up in capitalism and stuff like that. I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about when I say I love you. I could give a fuck about Hallmark. I could give a fuck about capitalism. When I say I love you, I'm expressing a feeling I have, has nothing to do with capitalism, has nothing to do with philosophy, nothing to, but still that word to him really like rubbed him the wrong way. And but it was always like there was always this exchange of, well, this word instead of that word and stuff. So it was like, okay, well, I appreciate you was sort of thing. But to me that didn't have the same impact. It's like, I appreciate you is like, well, I appreciate that you took out the trash, thanks. Or I appreciate that, it was sort of, it to me that word didn't have the same connotation as love, whereas he looked at love in such a negative context. And it just didn't work. Because I love everything, except when I don't. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with chat. All right. Anyone ever see shadows in a pitch black room moving around? Like, yep. It's like darkness, but the darkness within the darkness, and it's fluid. Yeah, I've seen them all my life. Like, a lot of times you'll see them in doorways or closets or like up in like the corner by the ceiling. The earth is the flash of Belial, and we walk, or flesh of Belial, and we walk upon his body. I don't know. Yeah, shadows a lot of times you'll catch in the periphery. Um, okay, when you use the term prayer in here, you're not using it in the sense of kneeling down and praying to something, to a god. Yeah, I mean, we define things in much different ways. Like, I mean, personally speaking, I have no problems. Like, I was thinking about that earlier when I was kind of, sort of having a meditative chat with Lucifer about stuff, and kind of thinking of it like, and sort of it kind of flashed to me. I'm like, am I praying to Lucifer in the same way like Christians would pray to God or Jesus or something? So, and I was just going, you know, I mean, a prayer, like, I mean, all these things are kind of. It's the difference between a Macintosh apple and a red delicious apple and a Fuji apple. They're all kind of apples. They're just a little different. Like an incantation that might be is a form of prayer, whether it's you're looking at like the invocation of the bornless one or something like that, or all of these things kind of interrelate and are just translated in different ways based on how you apply them. So you might use the term pray here, in terms of the spirits you work with. I might use the word communicate. I chit chat with the entities that I work with. So I don't particularly see any problem using it, or the word pray or prayer. I mean, there can be dogmatic associations that come from, prior religious, especially in the Abrahamic religions, prior religious experiences and sort of the religious trauma that might be associated with that, or just the icky feelings that you leave with. Yeah, it's. I mean, I've been watching a lot of stuff. I don't know. I've been in an Alan Watts kind of mood for the past couple days, so I've just been like listening to Alan Watts and chill. And I think, I mean, if you want to really go into the philosophical route that sort of merges Eastern and Western thought, Alan Watts is highly recommended. There's tons of audiobooks and lectures. There's a whole genre of like Watts wave and lo-fi Alan Watts stuff that's set to music. There's a lot of meditative stuff. He had a great voice, so Um, but a lot of it, he talks about different things and different concepts. And um, that's something I would recommend more so maybe than going hardcore into the Carl Jung shadow of it all. That could be a little more intense. Yeah, sometimes you got to cleanse though, Blade. Because I've honestly found it's not that energy that needs to be cleansed the most. It's your own energy. Like I am my own goddamn poltergeist. I'm pretty sure of it. Because like there's sometimes I realize like especially when you get into like really a deep understanding of like shamanic healing practices, like when we send our energy out into the world, um it goes somewhere, and sometimes it causes things to happen. Now our own stagnant energy can, if you're really pissed off and angry and you're going through something, that stagnant energy hangs around. And for me, like I did a lot of energetic cleansing, a lot of um lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram and a lot of smoke cleansing, just to get rid of my own freaking energy because I had a really bad depressive cycle last year. I'm like, get this out of here. Or sometimes you realize that energy lingers, um, or it gets sent out there. Because I started realizing because I really hate the neighborhood I live in, and I kind of sit there and think I'm like, wow, every time I've had like a shitty neighbor I hated, they've left within 6 months. Weird. Or I was like, oh yeah, that neighbor across the street that had that really high pitched yappy dog that kept waking me up in the morning. Oh yeah, that was the house that burnt down. Wasn't me because I was asleep when I woke up to the dulcet sounds of firemen smashing out the windows in the morning. Um, but sometimes your energy can kind of create its own almost thought form or tulpa. So I for that reason alone, I think energy cleansing and doing that, a banishing like the LBRP or smoke cleansing is highly recommended. More so for your own stuff than other entities. No, I think you make sense, Soren. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a lot of the negative spiritual energy is often caused by the living. It's not caused by demonic entities. It's not caused by necessarily the spirit. I mean, it can be caused by the spirit world, but sometimes yeah. Like I'm often will be like, I am my own worst poltergeist. So, what is sought in religion to reach the divine, we usually do through magic. So, praying is leaving the conversation with the divine, stand in line, illusory, and wait. I mean, if you look at it in a literal sense, it could be, but I mean, I think it's just I think that follows more of a dualistic approach of like divine is here and infernal is here, when really it's kind of like divine and infernal are kind of like this. They're kind of, think of it kind of in an energetic infinity kind of loop, that divine can't exist without infernal and infernal can't exist without divine. They're interconnected in a way. So, or whether it's celestial or divine, or like sometimes we talk about the demonic divine in that sense. So a lot of it is just sort of the language, the terminology, and the semantics of it all. Yeah, trauma can not only can trauma create like a tulpa or a thought form or an energetic form like that, trauma lives in your body. And a lot of times trauma manifests as, sometimes it really honestly can manifest as physical illness or whatnot, or pain. Like for me, I was talking about this. I was personally talking about this. Like I have chronic pain. I have three types of chronic pain. I have the chronic pain that comes from joint issues, degenerative joint issues in my hips and my lower back. I have the most frustrating type of chronic pain I have is the CPTSD related chronic pain from emotional trauma. A lot of that also lives in like my that mostly lives in my lower body and like my hips and into my legs. And there are times when when something is triggered in that PTSD mode where I literally can't walk. Like I'm in my legs feel like they are made out of lead. It is like a crushing weight. And it wasn't until I started doing a lot of trauma healing therapy, like ego state, polyvagal, EMDR. It's like, okay, now you're recalling this trauma. Where does it live in your body? Where are you feeling this? And I realized that I carry all of my relational trauma in my hips. Why are my hips a goddamn mess? The two are related. And the other type of chronic pain I deal with is related to the sensory processing issues I have with autism and ADHD, is that there's some things sensory wise that cause me physical pain. Certain sounds cause physical pain. So there's sometimes with sensory processing things, we can't quite, what goes in and what comes out are two entirely different things. Like an exhaust sound, if you leave an fan on too long, I've got a limit. I'm like, okay, I can deal with putting on the exhaust fan over the stove if it is for under 10 minutes. Once you get to that 10-minute mark, I'm going to start getting more and more agitated. If you leave an exhaust fan on long enough in my house, you're leaving in a body bag, I'm pretty sure, because it causes a pain, and when you can't make that pain stop, it gets incredibly hard to deal with. So, sorry, went off on a tangent there. Little behind on chat. Yeah, I mean, mental health issues and mental health. Well, I mean, the problem more or less, and at least in the United States, is we have really terrible mental health care. Um, yeah, I mean that a lot of times addicts and alcoholics will, because they're in that constant mind altered state, they will be more open to spiritual attachments, like astral parasites, those are parasitic entities, um, and things like that. So I agree with that completely, Bonnie. I mean, I've seen that, seen some shit. Yeah. Kind of went on a rant there for a minute, and now I'm like, where am I? Yeah, wink, wink. If you know, you know. It's and a lot of it for me is as I look, and I swear to God, I could start a drinking game with this on my channel as to how many times I talk about this or mention it, but it's everything within balance. And for a Gemini with like no earth signs in my entire astrological chart, I have a very watery air sign with a touch of fire in all the wrong places. Um, like my Mars is in Aries, so uh, that can be a B word sometimes, a big stabby B word. But I think that I have no idea what I was just going to say because I forgot to take my. Sorry, guys. Some authors that angels and demons are faces of the same being, mainly. Yeah, I mean that's possible. I mean, there's so many different theories on, you know, angels and demons and gods and goddesses, and a lot of it, at least in the world religion pantheon or mythological aspect, a lot of that breaks down into archetypal uh entities, or just different personality archetypes, goddess of love, goddess of war, god of thunder, or the things that are elemental related. You'll see that a lot more in like Greco-Roman mythology. Yeah, so I mean, it's when we look at things like good and evil and heaven and hell, that's looking at it in a very dualistic sense. What I was sort of, I think, talking about a little bit back about how they interrelate and things is, it's non-duality. It's there really is no good or evil. There just is. When we kind of look at things in that kind of binary, of it's either this or that, while we're like, it's this and that and some stuff in between and a little bit from here, there, and everywhere. It's all in the same sphere. So it's easier to classify something as good or something as evil. There's plenty of Christians that think Satanists are evil and that we're out to destroy the world, and we have so much blood on our hands. I'm like, have y'all ever read about like Christian and Catholic history? Jesus. I mean, the freaking Holy Wars and the Inquisitions and the Crusades and the burning times and I mean, I can go on. There's a lot of blood on those hands, but Satan's evil, or satanic, people are evil or whatever. So it's a matter of perspective, and there's a lot of hypocrisy in that. It's like, well, we're fighting for the good and blah 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 of all mankind. I'm like, yeah, but how much blood is on your hands for that fight? You're fighting people that would not be your enemy if you just sat down and talked to them and realized that, yes, you will have the outliers and the extremists in any array of speaking, but as far as you know evil goes, am I an evil person? Am I out to destroy the world? No. I just kind of like to do things that exist, and like spooky shit, whatnot. But there are people, and I know, and I'm well aware of the fact that there are people who will see me as the enemy, who will see me as evil, who will, that because I'm an anathema to their existence, because that is how they were taught to see. They weren't taught to see beyond that. They're like, no, that's evil. So, there's no seeing beyond that. And it's hard to get people to push through that and get to the other side to realize, like, it's kind of like we're all on the same page. We're just, reading, we're all on the same page in different books, So yeah, I mean, if you really want to look more into like non-dualistic kind of stuff, like Alan Watts is also good there. I'm trying to remember who else is. Uh, the information you speak of is it all from personal experience? No, I mean, I gigantic nerd, so I read a lot. I, talk with a lot of my colleagues and friends and stuff like that. So, and yeah, of course, there's obviously things from personal experience, or shared experiences, or, you know, I know this because I've talked to this person, they've experienced this. I've talked to this person, they've experienced this. So, I mean, it's a little bit of everything. Sorry, zoned out for a minute. We'll be right back after this commercial break, which Jen takes this episode of. I think I've caught up with comments at this point in time. Yeah, yeah, the divine feminine and the divine masculine are common. I mean, I think it's something that anyone can embrace, either or both or neither. um, it's. I think I did a video on it at some point in time. But I don't generally kind of focus on it a whole lot when I'm working with different entities. Like, I mean, I've talked a little bit about sort of going on the like the dark goddess aspect of it as like the infernal feminine. Um, so you can kind of look at it if you need to split up the divine from the infernal or the celestial from the infernal. That makes sense too. Whatever approach that works for you. That's what I always suggest. I'm like, whatever works for you, that's fine. You don't have to do it the way I do it. Because I always feel like we're a bit of a mix on things. And, I've worked with, the feminine aspects of Lucifer, and I've worked with the more masculine aspects of Lilith. So there's ways that you can do that in your own practice. Cool. Well, welcome. Boop. Okay. Sorry. Again, to announce the disclaimer of tonight's live stream, Jen forgot to take her Adderall today, so I'm a little. I just went into that like time blindness mode where I'm like, I've either been talking for 10 minutes or 10 hours. I cannot tell. I mean, those two things kind of go together. I mean, it happens. A lot of that happens in tandem. Like you'll start working with an entity or a spirit, and you'll start becoming more and more in touch with your true self. And that's going to change over time. I don't think anyone really ever gets to that point in which they are like, I am 100% my true self. It's evolving. If we look at who we are as people, we're evolving. Am I the same person I was 5 years ago? No. Am I the same person I was 10 years ago? No. Am I the same person I was, as a child? No. We change and we evolve, or at least that's the plan. I mean, some people I think could probably maybe don't evolve enough or don't change and get stuck in their ways. That's just never been who I am. Spiritual souls, good and evil do not exist. They form a thing placed in. Yeah, it's yeah, good and evil puts people into the seats in church. It's once you kind of get past that and realize that I don't know that all those Catholic church priests and stuff like that and clergy members, that's if you want to talk about evil, that's some pretty fucking evil shit there. Um, you know, a bunch of Satanists, burning a candle, not so much. But in our minds, when we, the division of good and evil, we see a priest, we think, oh, he's so good, he's a priest. And we see a satanic person, think, oh no, they're evil, they're going to eat our babies. And it can be true. Those things can, go either way. Yeah, yeah. It's you just kind of have to. Hi, Xander, thank you. Tiara Princess Fire Goblin. Yeah, I just don't think about things as being evil. Like it is. It's a variety of. I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. because even the most, you kind of have to look at sort of things like, okay, you might think that pick a serial killer. This person is totally evil. It's easy to classify them as that, and just say, okay, they're evil. But, and believe me, I'm not speaking in defense of serial killers, but I'm saying is it's just an easy way to kind of like check a box and move on, instead of looking at, because I know Bonnie and I are big into the true crime kind of stuff, so um looking at how they, and this is why probably the true crime genre exists, is it is fascinating to look at how people got to where they are. um and a lot of times those things come from mental illness, they come from abuse, they come from trauma, and things like that. And do I think anyone is just born 100% evil? No, of course not. But it's just easier to, because we sometimes can't our brains sometimes can't understand fully how someone could do something so heinous, that it's just easy, they're completely evil, because we can't find a reason for it, as to why someone would do these things. And at the same time, the person doing some of those things that we think are totally evil, they might be thinking they're doing good. In their mind, the rest of the things are evil and whatnot. So sometimes it's a matter of perspective, or you know, subjectivity, objectivity, etc. Yeah, I mean, all things take time. I mean, I think it's just, and believe me, there are people in the whole realm of whether black magic, left hand path, Satanism, Luciferianism, who the edgelord types who want to be seen as like the evil, you know, evil magician or whatever, and whatever. Most of us aren't like that, or it's just theatrical. It's just a game. It's just whatever. So, and a lot of what I talk about is sort of dispelling, because there is a lot of stigma attached, especially in like that whole rubric of black magic, left hand path, Satanism, Luciferianism, and yeah, there's parts of it that are much more problematic. Like we were talking last night about the Order of Nine Angles. In the UK, the Order of Nine Angles, which is a satanic organization, but they're also, classified as a terrorist group there. So that's something to take into consideration. Or like the Joy of Satan, them some Yahtzees. Uh, so it's a group that is very anti-Semitic. So while they're technically Satanists and Satanism and in that general rubric, um, they're outliers in that sense. They're extremists in that sense. They're perpetuating negative stereotypes in that sense. So, um, but you'll have those extreme factions in anything, in any religious or spirituality based group. Yeah, it bugs me too. Because I mean, I've had people kind of look down like, oh, well, you practice dark magic. Well, I'm on the path of light and enlightened and love and light. I'm like, you think I'm not? Because people still are looking at it in terms of good and evil, light and dark, good, bad, etc., and not realizing that, regardless of whether you practice white magic or black magic or any kind of magic, it's all part of the same energy spectrum. It's just how you use it and what you do with it. You can do a white magic love spell. You're still doing magic. You're still doing, manipulative magic. just because you've convinced yourself you're love and light and Wiccan high priestess or whatever, and you don't deign to do dark magic. So yeah, there's a lot of stigma there. It gets a little annoying. So I deal with it a lot, so it gets a little annoying. I'm like, well, if you're gonna be closed-minded about it, go eat a bag of dicks. I've never been one to be subtle. The roots are connected to inside us, so I suggest, yeah, yeah, exactly. And I always say you need, and while we live in the realm of duality, is that you can move, like I suggest looking into like non-duality, because that's an actual thing. It's kind of like, instead of looking at it as light magic and dark magic, it's just magic. We like to classify things. That's what humans do. We like to categorize stuff. And I can speak from experience because I used to work in like, you know, information architecture and database and stuff. I'm like, well, it either goes here or here, or it's this or that, or this is the classification or order or hierarchy of it. So there are ways to move past looking at things in a dualistic approach. It's not easy, and sometimes I fall into that, the dualism trap myself. Of, well, why would I work with angels? Because fuck the Catholic Church, But once you get past that, you just kind of realize it's an entirely different spectrum. Or, are demons evil and trying to, destroy the world? Not so much. At least that's not been my experience. And sometimes what you have to look at with the information that's coming out from other people, sometimes that's just their own ego projection. And gnosis is gnosis. And there's a lot of unverified personal gnosis out there. So, it's, our experiences sometimes can be similar, and sometimes they can be wildly, incongruent. The mess angel cause is huge. Yeah. I don't really work with like the angels and archangels that often. I mean, I have, but I'm more, I like to learn about things, so I'm more fascinated with like the lore of like the Watchers and the fallen angels and stuff like that. So that's kind of where my interest in that lies. Sorry, just that face of someone who's parked outside with like booming subwoofer bass, which is one of those things that, like, as I was talking about earlier with chronic pain related to sensory processing issues, that makes me just want to throw a brick out the window and into their car, which I won't. But it's just like it's an agitating sound to me that like causes pressure and pain in my head. It literally just kind of sounds like there's a jet engine on my street vibrating everything, which I don't know how is enjoyable to anyone. Just like a droning, thumping thud. I'm like, all right, well, I could put a boot in the dryer and get the same effect, but I digress. I'm so over city living. That's very much my goal for the rest of this year, is getting the fuck out of here. Because holy I just realized, like, and we were talking earlier when we were talking about being our own poltergeists, is like I'm just in a constant state of agitation. And a lot of it's environmental, and just the energetics of the city and of where I live, because I'm in the fucking hood basically. Um, that's just, people have just become awful, awful. Like where I lived when I first moved in here was fine. Like since 2020, it's just gone straight down fucking hell. But ranting aside, in chaos magic, we work with angels and demons really easily. Our will with demons, demons, old gods, and the common good flow. Yeah, I've been starting to read more about chaos magic. I've been getting a little more interested in checking that out. It's not that I'm not familiar with it. I just haven't done like my deep dive into chaos magic. So, I mean, I think there's sometimes for me there's elements of things that end up being parts of like my rituals and spells, but it's not a specific chaos magic spell, or it's not a specific hoodoo spell, or it's not a specific, traditional witchcraft spell or black magic spell. I just do my own thing, and however that kind of happens to come out. It's gen magic. It's a tiara wearing rainbow goth magic. For nerve spicy folks. Also wanted to mention I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be able to do a live stream next Saturday or not. I am going to be up at my parents' house because sorry, music outside's being really agitating. I'm going to be up at my parents' house. My niece has her 4 million year long dance recital with the dance company. She's 7, so she's it's literally a 4 hour dance, or 4 or 5 hour dance recital, which is just like, oh my god, love her dearly. It's just like it's just very long. So, and I think it starts at 4. So, and it's all up towards. So it's a lot of driving. So I'm staying over at my parents' house that night and driving back on Sunday. So I may not have your parents. I'm not sure what you're asking, Tesla. Yeah, I'm just not sure, like, logistically, because it's one of those things for me being neurodivergent, like having to go to an event for 4 hours is really like draining and taxing for me, and also for the fact that I have to wear shoes for 4 hours is really annoying to me. So I might just be like completely spent by the time I get home. I mean, I'll have my laptop with me if I feel like it. I might, maybe I'll do a live stream, but I'm not planning one for next week. Just on the offshoot chance I'm like, fuck this shit. Because I just may need to just lay in bed and watch YouTube videos or stare at the TV or something. Sorry, I was using my energy to manifest the person with the loud, annoying music in their car to go the fuck away. Nope. One of them did, I think. Sometimes they stop at the intersection, or they're just the least shady drug dealers in the world, and they just sit on the street with their car. Don't your parents have their will for you to do? No. Yeah, my parents don't care. At this point, to shock my family, I'd have to go like deep normal. I'd have to like marry a doctor and become a country club conservative or something. Yeah, they don't care. By this point, I have run out of ways to shock them, which feels like I should get a lifetime achievement award for that, but I'm also kind of sad. It'd be fun though to do a live stream from the cemetery across the street from my parents' house, which would probably be, and that's how I got arrested, doing a live stream in a cemetery in my hometown. Anywho, wow, are you having a party at the cemetery? It'd be fun. Probably wouldn't be the first time. I used to write bad goth poetry there. But anyways, before I get myself shadow banned, or as we like to call, as I've recently decided to call, diet cancel culture, because YouTube is good with the shadow banning if you mention certain things and or topics, especially political stuff. How about you do inverse magic with these wonderful people? Yeah, I've thought about it. I mean, I've definitely, like sometimes it's my like when we were talking earlier about like sending your energy out, that I think that's happened a lot of times when there's things that happen is like it's me sending my energy out, and it smacking a bitch up, so to speak. Because it's not a lot of times me sitting down and like cursing someone for parking their car outside, and being an asshole like that. It's just like I get so that because I'm when those sensory processing things happen, I can't really physically do anything. I will just literally just be there like ah. I will try to distract myself, but it's not the kind of it's the distraction that comes from doing something completely monotonous like doing the dishes or something like that. It's not the kind of distraction where I could organize myself to do a ritual. I think I just need to get like an ongoing candle of GDIAF, the GDIAF candle for motherfuckers. It's actually not a bad idea. I think it's quieted down again. Fingers crossed. It's not. And the weird thing is just with the way my house is constructed, it's actually not as bad on the first floor as it is on the second floor. It's bad. But I also have. Yeah, I'm just gonna start like hurling chicken feed at people. They know they'll get it. Um, Here, have some chicken feet. I'm sure you know what they're for. Um, like for me, it's I have like really a lot of what did this for me. Like it wasn't as bad. I didn't have as many problems with the sensory processing stuff and with that the neighborhood noise stuff as much until 2020. I mean, not for enough. Well, I mean, I work from home and I've pretty much been working from home since COVID, but um, it's like what happened here in the whatever May, June of 2020 with all the riots and looting and burn everything down and protests is that literally where I live was kind of an epicenter of that. Like everything, every store or every my grocery store only had the windows smashed out. They were okay. Like all the drugstores, all the other stores, everything was either looted, smashed, on fire, and destroyed, or on fire. Like the Rite Aid, 5 blocks from me, didn't open up again until February 2021 because they had so much fire and water damage. Um, but everything, no, sorry, the music's back. Everything in either direction for miles of where I live from a couple blocks to a couple miles all got looted and stuff and protest, and it was really traumatizing because I live alone, and it's not only this is happening but also, I mean, luckily my block was okay, but there was like the police were literally lobbing tear gas canisters into residential neighborhoods while it was hot outside, and people were getting tear gassed in their own homes. Happened to quite a few people I know. So part of it. The other part was the amount of flashbangs that were going off. And every single night from sometime in May 2020 to I don't even know when, for months, from about 6 p.m. to 3 a.m., it was nonstop fireworks and like M80s and flashbangs going off. Like there would literally be times where I would be sitting on the floor, like rocking, like shell-shocked, rocking from the percussive. Like my entire house would be vibrating. Like I could hear the glasses jingling in the cabinets from the percussion of those things. Because also what was happening at the times of the protests and the looting is they were blowing up all, because where I live, there's a lot of like ATMs that are outside, like a laundromat or a mom and pop shop or something like that. All those got blown up. That makes a lot of loud noise, blowing up an ATM machine. So I ended up with a lot of sensory related trauma from that. And since then, I am extremely sensitive to a lot of those types of sounds. And it's really hard to, it's a trauma that's really hard to manage. And obviously, since I've been probably going on about it for about a half an hour now. But I'm probably going to wrap up soon because music's back again. And I'm just getting, I need to drown it out with something other than my own voice. So, if there's any last questions that anyone has, have at them. Otherwise, I'm going to log off and Alice store. Okay, I will definitely look into that because someone needs to like fucking chuck these shitheads into an abyss. It's so, I don't know. Well, one of the things I've also noticed too is like, not for nothing, the past 3 years, given the everything that's gone on, there's a lot of collective global trauma that no one has done anything like, is not even begin to process, and people have just become really horrible as a result, which is another reason why I want to get the fuck out of the city, because I don't think it's going to get any better. It's just really, it's not healthy for me to be here anymore. And I realize staying here has been detrimental to my health and well-being. And I feel like if I stay here I'm not going to live through another year staying in the city. That's how I feel about it. Thanks, Bonnie. Trying to be magnanimous, but man, I really want to check some bricks. And by that, I'm going to have my nightly, my new favorite thing that I've been having every night is I put rum punch in my fruit smoothie. It's the bomb. Also takes the edge off a little bit because this is agitating the fuck out of me. And I will sit here and bitch about it until it just stops. So, which does not make for the most entertaining live stream. Apologies. But hey, welcome to the world of neurodivergence. Anywho, I will let you guys know about next weekend. It might just be a spontaneous, hey, I've got a few minutes, I'm going to pop on. Or I may schedule it for another day that weekend. So maybe I'll do it Sunday or something after I get home, but I probably will have more work to do. So yeah. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for enduring my neuro spicy meltdown. So, yep. Love y'all.